Roger, even though Nikken promotes that they don't treat, cure any diseases, the products have had amazing results on people with health challenges. You mentioned when talking about the light, MS patients tend to have too much light. What brings or gets rid of that excess light, or what can get it back to normal levels?
They don't have too much light because they're exposed to too much light. Because of the MS has a component of extreme stress. Most autoimmune conditions are turned on by extreme stress and how it changes the function of your immune system. So in that state, their cells are actually out of balance, and they're trying to regain homeostasis, but they can't. And part of the process of regaining homeostasis for a cell is increasing the amount of light, but it's stuck. But most MS people are extremely stressed, and that shuts off a certain cytokine in your immune system that controls inflammation, and then it shuts off turns on other parts of your immune system so that it's constantly having to attack something.
So watching the sugar content, which
the sugar content will help.
So they're not in a constant stress response.
Here's the thing. He asked about whether Nikken products cure anything. Nothing actually ever cures anything, right? It's finding the right thing that allows your body to build its own defenses and regulate itself. Then it goes into a position where it takes care of your imbalance. Even with immune system things, you think mushrooms are anti-cancerous. Well, it just happens that that particular type of food has a certain frequency that turns on parts of your immune system, which then deals with certain imbalances that are immune-related. So this is why the magnetics and light and water are so important, because that makes it easier for everything to regulate itself, and then your body it's easier for your body to find its own set point again, and then it takes care of whatever is going on. That's what it's really all about. That's why you'll have miraculous things happen, but it's not like it cured anything.
Roger,
He's in the back first. I'll get you next.
you were talking about the protein drink in the morning and no sugar, so it's not a good idea to put like blueberries in or a fruit into that drink.
No. If you're going to try and regulate your sugar cravings, don't add anything to the drink, right? Don't add anything to it. Maybe some unsweetened almond milk because there's no sugar in it and very, very little of anything else, really. Don't add anything to it. Just have the pure protein. Now, after a couple weeks, you can throw some blueberries in it because your brain is different. In a couple of weeks, your brain will be booted up. It doesn't take as much of a pure food to turn it on dopamine. It only needs to be a protein-dominant food, right? So it's different. Yeah.
Can your body become too alkaline?
Oh, it's possible, but it's almost impossible.
And what would that look like if the body was too alkaline?
Generally, you just wouldn't have much energy. You wouldn't feel good. I don't know how it would manifest for each individual person. But you probably would also be excreting way too many minerals out of your system, so you become mineral deficient.
Yeah.
With the MS, I have a friend next door that uses electric blankets. Doesn't that hurt the system with all that power?
I wouldn't probably suggest it. It's just another competing energy field. They do really well with a far infrared blanket, actually.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, people don't react well to electricity. And especially if they're not connected to the earth at all. So anytime you can remove competing frequencies, I know you can't do this in the wintertime, but sometime in the summer when it's not hot out much, pull the plug on all the electricity in your house when you go to bed and see how much different you feel in the house and how much nicer it is to sleep, because there's no energy field that your body's having to deal with all night long. You'd be surprised how even most people can feel it if you just unplug the electricity. Even during the day when there's no lights on, people are set, because you can feel. My wife and I experienced this in LA once. The power went out in the neighborhood. It was 3 in the afternoon, and we both noticed something sitting in the house. We're sitting there, did you feel that? And I said, yeah, I actually did. And I'm not the most sensitive person in the world, right? So I actually felt something. I felt my shoulders relax, just tension, right? We're sitting there. It took us about 20 minutes to figure it out. When she went out to turn a light on in the kitchen, there's no electricity. It went out. And so when we noticed it when it came back on, because one, we flipped some lights on, but you could just feel a little degree of tension because of the energy system in the house. So try it out sometime and see how it feels. She asked me something she wanted to bring up, and then I'll give you an answer.
Go ahead.
Okay. I wanted to know more about, you talked about insulin in type 1 and type 2 diabetes. How can it help type 1?
Well, here's how it can help, because type 1 is a type of diabetes where your pancreas makes little or no insulin, right?
Yes, exactly.
Insulin is only related to taking sugar out of your bloodstream, right?
Okay.
If you don't raise your blood sugar, why would you need it?
But it's okay.
If you don't raise your blood sugar more than 10 or 20 points, why would you need much insulin at all? I've actually had a client who followed this diet I gave and went off all her medication for type 1 diabetes in 3 weeks.
Really?
Doesn't mean everybody can do it, but her pancreas was probably making enough insulin to deal with the little bit of sugar that was coming out of her diet.
But if your pancreas isn't making any insulin.
But you don't know that. No one really knows that. They just know that it's not making much. But what if you go on the diet and instead of doing 3 shots a day or something, or taking it all before every meal, you have to take a small amount of it once a day? That's a huge impact on your health.
Lessen the dose.
Yeah, it's a huge impact on your health.
Yeah, yes.
But most people that fall in the pattern of having the shots every meal, I know I've had a lot of relatives. I've sat at so many meals with relatives where they're having 3 plates of food and ice cream and pie and shooting up. You know? So, pass the pie and the needles.
Exactly.
I don't know. You know, he had a question, didn't you?
Right there, ladies first.
Oh, I just had a question about when you are detoxing from the sugar. Of course, we're going to cut out the natural fruits and all that. What about our Ciaga and our Regesterol? Should we?
You can have those during the day. Do them on an empty stomach. There's only 2 grams. You can't do without sugar in something. I would suggest, she did bring up a point I didn't cover, and that is on that 2 weeks first part of the diet, don't eat any fruit because it's just sugar, right?
Okay.
And it's not that hard when you go back to adding it back in. I personally rarely ever eat fruit, and I'm a vegetarian. You might wonder why that is because vegetarians tend to have their blood sugar spike really easily compared to people that eat meat. And so I just find when I ate a lot of it, I never felt that good. And I don't have any cravings for it that much since I don't have cravings for sugar. But I'll eat fruit in season. I love to eat berries and peaches when they're in season and stuff, but it's not like I have to have it. If it's around and it's fresh and it's in season, I'll eat some of it, but I don't eat a lot of it.
What about corn, popcorn, sweet potatoes, that kind of thing?
Sweet potatoes are fine after a little while. Popcorn I don't see a problem with. I wouldn't eat microwave popcorn. And corn is, not a vegetable actually, it's a grain.
Well, that's
So I wouldn't
that's
eat
why
it.
I was asking, no corn. But
Corn's
popcorn's okay?
What's that?
Popcorn's okay, but not corn?
Well, you're not going to eat that
Oh,
much.
because it's so
I mean,
puffed
come
up,
on, we
right?
got to live, right? So
Right,
after
no,
a
I was
couple
just
of weeks,
asking
you
for
can
that
have some
couple
popcorn.
weeks, that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
after a couple of weeks, you can
Cut it
have
out
some
for that
popcorn.
first few weeks.
Yeah.
No butter.
Really, everybody thinks they're going to be starving. You can eat anything you want except for sugar and a lot of grains after a while. It's not that big a deal. It's not you can't eat ice cream for the rest of your life.
So here's my question. I know you mentioned electricity and the frequencies. One thing I've noticed out in the country are the Amish people. If you look at them, they don't have electricity. They use candle lights. I mean, they don't surround themselves around a lot of high-frequency technology. And I'm a Nikken consultant, so I know what this does for us, if we have a home health system from Nikken. My question to you is, how can we help our children and other people see what we have benefit them?
Well, by the way, we do have a huge Amish community in Nikken. Out in Lancaster area. with Rebecca Esch. I go out there all the time. They have the Amish have just as many health issues as they're different. Even though they live in a really protective society, they have a lot of issues with genetics and things and there's a lot of, and they also have stress. It's very stressful to try not to be part of the world all the time and have it imposing on you all the time and trying to use it a little bit to make a living too at the same time.
Right.
So a lot of them have stress. And they have a lot of health issues. I talk to a lot of them. Right? But the main thing you have to do if you're worried about how do you impress other people with it, the main thing that the easiest way I find of sharing things with people is that you do it through making an example of your own life.
Product of the product.
And you're sharing it with them without trying to force it on them. And there's one of the great things about Nikken is that it fulfills a need that almost every human being has, that is to help other people. Right? And it does it in a way where you don't ever have to diagnose a single thing. Because I can guarantee you, no matter who you talk to tomorrow, they're dehydrated, they're not connected to magnetic energy, and they're not paying attention to anything in their diet. If you can remove some junk food in their diet and get them even some insoles in their shoes and a waterfall, you've made a huge impact on their health. And so Nikken fulfills that little need that everybody has. Once you wake up and feel better, it's a normal human condition, really, to want to help other people. And by always being very alert and feeling vibrant and alive when you're around somebody, I can guarantee you the most annoying thing you can ever do to anybody you don't like is always be happy when you see them. Drives them crazy, right? After a while, they just can't stand it anymore, right? And then they want to, and you're always talking about the technologies and how much energy you have, and they have to do it, right? And it's just, everybody hates someone who's feeling better than them all the time, is always in a good mood, because you know what? Most people aren't. Most people are suffering all the time. And they need to change it. But one of the best ways to do that is invest in yourself. And it's not your outside world that's determining how you feel every moment. It's your inside world and how your system works. And it's programmed every single moment to move toward a higher state of vibrational health. It's just what's programmed in every single cell. And if you just tap into that and feed it, then you will elevate the way you feel, the way you think, the way you see. Everything changes.
And next Saturday, you teach 3 to reach 3. And 3 times 3 is 9, and 9 times 3 is 27.
Yeah.
I enjoyed your lecture here. With this new product, I'm an ingredient
Right.
where I always look at the ingredients
Sure.
and so forth. On this new product that was introduced yesterday, you have stevia, one of the additives. What exactly, in your opinion, is stevia in there for?
For sweetness.
Sweetness. All right. All right. Again, it's not a natural sweetener.
Oh, stevia.
Yes, he is.
All right. Well, in terms of the stevia, all right, correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't that just a mirror image of what the aspartame chemical was?
No, stevia is from a stevia plant.
Right.
And what you do with stevia is there's 2 different kinds.
Right.
If you ever notice in the health food store, sometimes you'll see a tarry black liquid.
Right.
That's a 4-to-1 extract of stevia, right? Which has some blood sugar regulating properties as an herb, and it's very sweet, tastes like molasses.
Right.
What they normally sell is rubinicide A, which is the sweet molecule from it, which is hundreds and hundreds of times sweeter than sugar. But it has no ill effect on your body at all. It doesn't mess up anything with your sugar receptors. It's very sweet, and it's a natural for natural foods. And there's actually research now going on that shows that stevia improves brain function. I don't know what the connection is to that, but there's a research going on for that.
The other question with the progesterol, and you mentioned the statin drugs and so forth. The other, with the statin drugs, they recommended people also adding a supplement, the coenzyme Q, with it. if you're on the progesterone, would you recommend people taking that additive, the coenzyme?
I don't think you need it to take it, but I think I personally feel that if you're over 50, you probably need to take coenzyme Q10 anyway, because nobody makes it after they're 50.
Right.
Your body, there's certain things that happen as you age where you lose the conversion of certain nutrients into vital forms as you get older, and that's one of them. You don't really make much of it, so it's probably beneficial. It's one of the 5 major antioxidants that your body uses to process all other antioxidants. So if you're deficient in it, you're missing something.
And since you're a mushroom guy, sorry for...
That's all right.
Psilocybin, all right, it's from the mushroom, and I know it affects the pineal gland that you mentioned earlier. In terms of that, how is it related to the DMT molecule that the pineal gland produces?
I don't know what chemical it's related to, but psilocybin affects your pituitary and your pineal gland.
Right.
And it's a temporary, everybody know what psilocybin is? It's natural LSD.
Is it one of the 14 in our product?
No. If it did, we'd be selling more. But psilocybin is a natural LSD. The way it actually works with most psychoactive drugs, LSD, all those things, is that it causes the energy center that's related with your pituitary and your pineal gland to go from being very small to expanding way out. So you see things moving differently, you feel energy differently, and it gives you you feel like the whole universe is alive because your energy centers are open. The problem with it is after a few times you use it, it damages the web or protective device over that, and then you're just always stuck in a really weird energetic position that's not good for your brain. Just so you know. It's the same way with pot. Pot makes you feel really good, and they're legalizing it in certain states. I think that's fine for pain, but to smoke it every day in very much amounts, it actually shuts your pituitary off. But when you first start smoking it, it turns it on. So you feel more receptive and relaxed, and you think clear, and you have all these wild ideas, right? But after a while, your pituitary actually starts to shut off, and you lose the creative process, and it screws up your whole glandular system. That's the danger with most of the drugs. They're always, usually if you're going to experience them once or twice just to get a lesson, and then you quit doing it because it's not good for your long-term health.
Hi, I'm glad to have you come in and talk to us. All right, so can you hear me?
I think it's shut off. It's shut off.
I do that
Touch the bottom.
Well, anyways, if everybody can hear me, I was diagnosed with sinus tachycardia, and I'm under beta blockers and so forth. So any kind of juices or any kind of pills, I always have to use the labels, and
Right.
because it will, any kind of stuff that accelerates my heart, I would wind up in the hospital. So my doctor, pretty much, I don't like to take pills, but he forced me to take the beta blockers, atenolol for 25 milligrams. And if I don't take that, as soon as I wake up in the morning, my heartbeat just starts accelerating. Sometimes I could be sitting here, even with the atenolol, it would start right away without no cause or reason. So was just wondering about the products, especially the berries one. Would that be affecting my system?
I don't think the berry product would affect that, because I don't see anything in that would cause increase your heart rate. Most of that's due to maybe things that have higher sugar content. There's really not much in that.
I was concerned about, maybe I'm mispronouncing the acai.
Acai?
Acai berry, because I tried those little gum ones for energy.
Yeah, but if you look at the label, there might have been caffeine and things in it.
I can't take caffeine at all.
Yeah, there's no caffeine in this. You have to look at all those. The acai thing was part of the biggest herbal scam in the last 4 or 5 years. The acai diet pill, there's nothing in it for diet. It was basically getting your credit card and charge you $89. You can never get them on the phone to shut it off. Right? Oh, it was an amazing scam. They probably made $10-15 million a month on that before it got shut down.
Wow.
But I don't see any problem with that. If you were going to try it, you should try it right after a meal, so it slowly goes in your system. But that wouldn't be any different than having a handful of berries, if that would affect you. Because there's really no, if you look at the label on this, wow. If you look at the label on this, there's 3 grams of sugar in this. So if you take it after a meal, it's not really going to do, I don't see how it would do anything to you. And you might be one of those persons that, there's a lot of people that benefit from drugs. You know, drugs, I tell everybody, don't get into a mindset you can't ever take a pharmaceutical drug, because the companies wouldn't be around if they didn't have some benefit when they first started. The problem is they've all become marketing agents now instead of pharmaceutical companies, right? So they make, since in the last 10 years, they've gone from something like 1,000 drugs on the market to 10,000, right? They're just creating things to market and shove on people, right? And so if you need to have one, you should look it up in a natural pharmacy and see what mineral vitamin deficiencies it causes, because they all do. The symptoms are due to the vitamin, nutrition, and deficiencies they cause long term. Find out what they are and supplement with it. So then you can actually benefit from it and not have the side effects.
Because I'm balancing the side effects of the beta blocker by, and I discovered it on my own, was it's a purity product, which is it's a fish oil, but it has plant sterol, CoQ10, and fish oil.
Okay.
That completely balanced the side effect of my being dizzy, very tired, because that's what beta blockers do.
Well, see, that's what everybody should do. You should look up what your side effects are. Like, I took my mom, when she was alive, off of 6 different medications for high blood pressure, because every symptom she had was a magnesium-potassium deficiency. And if you looked up every drug, what they all cause is magnesium-potassium deficiency. And they gave her all of them because she had a side effect of the first one she got on, right? So they were all for a different side effect, and I just took her off. She never felt any different. And, you know, she got rid of a lot of side effects, and it didn't affect her blood pressure at all. She only really needed one.
Everything you talked about earlier, the light and the water and the magnetics, that's what she needs for the balance in the electrical system of the heart.
Yeah, so she did really well after a mini stroke where I just put her on magnesium, potassium. So, you know, it's all looking at what you actually have instead of covering up the symptom.
Roger, for children of school age, what would you suggest for a good vitamin, a good plan to get on for them? I have a granddaughter that can't take the immunity. What would you suggest?
I would suggest they do some J. Greenzymes and probably this. The reason for that is that kids by just naturally, they don't eat green food, right? And so most of them love that in a drink. This is the most potent food class of antioxidants you could ever give anybody. It's completely safe for kids. And the thing you have to realize with children is that their body doesn't detox the way of adults does. So when you give them pesticides and chemicals in their food, their body can't deal with it the same way as adults until they're anywhere from 12 to almost 18, depending on the kid. Their liver doesn't develop the detox system to it that adults have. So they need antioxidants, and this is the perfect thing for them. Because it's a natural fruit-based antioxidant. It gets rid of inflammation in your arteries. It helps your liver detox. It's a perfect thing for them, and they like it. You know, I don't know any kids that don't like it. Even the new protein powder, if you want to give this to a kid, it's perfectly fine. But a kid, like my kids who are 7 and 10, they would only take half of a scoop. They don't need 18 grams of protein. They need like 10. Right? So 1 scoop, you can make a milkshake for 2 kids.
Also, about diabetes and what you were explaining. Right now, when I do my shake, I put my Ciaga in it, and sometimes I put my Bergie in it, my J Green. I throw some fruit in. Now, I heard no fruit. What about the the other things? Can I have them in the morning, or do I want to wait
It
later
all
in the day?
depends on what stage you're in. If you're going to go through the phase of setting up your brain for 7 days, don't put anything in it. Go a couple weeks of going through the phase of setting your brain chemistry, and then you can add them to it, or you can have them later in the day. But you want to go through that first 7 days of just the protein, nothing else, because there's a lot of nutrients in that product. You're not going to be missing much. And give your brain what it needs to turn on dopamine and start your shutting off your sugar cravings. Then you can add a few things to it. The one problem most Americans have is that they think when they have a protein shake, it's got to be like a milkshake from the Dairy Queen. Right? It's in their brain. It's a milkshake. It's got to taste like Dairy Queen, right? And they're throwing fruit in it. They're throwing sugar in it. It's got cream. And it's just like, it's just garbage after that, right? Just look at it as a meal, a healthy meal, drink it, and go on to something else. The way I use these things, being vegetarian, is I'll drink a shake, and then I'll just eat a bunch of vegetables or something, and I don't have to worry about protein for a meal. I don't care what's in it. I shake it up with water. I came down today and got a thing of water and went up my room and shook one up in a little cup and just drank it. I wanted my brain to be on for you.
With the greens that are in the new shake, the Sprite and so forth, would you still have the green signs to it?
Well, you can if you want, but you probably don't need to. Don't overdo taking too many supplements at once. Your body can only use so much nutrition at one time, and the rest is a waste. So plan your things out. Have a breakfast. Take a multivitamin with lunch. Take something else in the day. So your body has a constant, what I call you're bathing your cells continuously in nutrition. Because your body will clear out almost all nutrients unless they're fat soluble within an hour or two. It does its work. It's on the way out. It's moving on to something else. Yes.
Hi, Roger. I have a family member that's been, she's in her late 50s, been recently diagnosed with Parkinson. Could you speak to that?
Well, the best thing you can do is just put them in an environment where they can achieve their best health and make sure they're taking a multivitamin. Because almost all the side effects of Parkinson drugs are a type of nervous system disorder they get from lack of B vitamins to offset the drugs. So all the nervousness they get and the breakdown of their system, it's all nerve damage from the drugs long term. So have them on a really good multivitamin. Get them insoles for their shoes, sleep system, have them drink water. Everything, it's just like with the kids with autism, you're creating an environment that makes their body work easier, so their disease will probably progress slower. When you have someone who has that condition who doesn't pay attention to what they eat or drink or anything else, then their body's continuously breaking down anyway. And that's just going to accelerate it.
I have a question in regards to the body balance and the vital balance, what's the difference between the two?
Well, since the difference is one's not available anymore.
That's a big difference.
And one is, that's the main difference. The other one had about 18 grams of sugar in it. It did not have the herbs in it that detoxify your system or the probiotics and all that other stuff that are in it.
Probably MCTs also.
No, that's going to be discontinued.
Probably until it's gone.
Yeah,
well,
until it's gone.
Until March, and then after that, you have
Yeah, that's why I never recommended that on the diabetic control your sugar diet, because it has some sweetener in it.
I think you can still get it through March 1st.
You can get it on auto ship up to March 1st, and then after that, they'll sell it until it's gone.
Yes. So, but what we found out, and Roger can attest to this, that whenever Nikken makes a change in a product, it's always much better. So if you thought the other was good, this is better. Okay, well that's good.
No, this has a lot of nutrients in it compared to the other one.
Is it going to come in chocolate?
No. That I don't know.
And the previous one probably didn't have the MCTs either.
No, it didn't have the MCTs to it either. Yes?
Hi. My question is, how much protein do you recommend a day in your diet? And what would be a side effect if you're not getting enough or you're getting too much?
you're not getting enough, usually you're too tired. And you have lack of drive, and basically you feel a little bit weak and tired easily. It's kind of hard. Too much, your body can put up with a certain amount of too much. The average person does get enough protein, especially if they eat meat, but they don't eat it at an appropriate time. And they have too much sugar in their system. So,
is there like a range? Like
usually it's 2 grams for every, let's say you cut your body weight in half, and that's about how many grams you need. I myself feel good on a high protein diet. It would probably made the biggest shift in my health when I did that. I started eating protein breakfast. That just completely got rid of any cravings I had for sugar. It made going off of gluten really easy. And I feel the best when I do that. Normally, I've been a vegetarian for 32 years. And then last year I started eating fish because I was trying to get my kids to eat it because they're vegetarian and I thought they needed some more protein. And they hated it, but I found out I really liked it while I was doing that. And my wife likes it, so I make it once a week for her, right? I'll tell you, the first time I had a piece of salmon with a salad, it was just like, I felt so good. It was unbelievable, right? And I realized I needed up my protein a little bit more. So it just depends on what you're doing. If you're working out all the time, you have a physical job, you need a little bit more. But you don't have to go excessive. And by the way, pea protein, which is the main protein in this, has been shown in countless studies that for people over 50, it helps them maintain muscle mass and body mass. It's one of the healthiest proteins you could ever actually eat. And you can research that on the internet. There were studies done at Life Extension on pea protein that are really quite amazing. And the hemp protein, which they have in that, is also one of probably the most nutritious forms of protein that you could ever take. And doing something like this is much better than buying protein bars. Most of those protein bars people buy are just sugar, really. I used to buy a lot of them because I was traveling and I got tired I thought I was eating too many nuts. And then I realized when I read it, it was the label had the